All right, welcome back to training module 4.2, Supermini and Mini application. This is part 1, tool assembly. This is a 4-part series covering Supermini and Mini application, and I'm your trainer, Edwin Tunney, training and technical specialist for Horn USA Incorporated. Before we get too far along with the assembly of the Supermini and Mini tools, I think it's important to point out a fact about the Supermini program that many of you may not know. So for all the Supermini inserts, the 105 series, in the 105 series, you have a blank size. So you have a 105.5, a 105.4, and a 105.3 blank. And that corresponds to a 7 millimeter, 6.4 millimeter, and a 5.9 millimeter height or B dimension. What you should realize is that the 105.5 blank and the 105.3 blank and the 105.4 all fit the same holder. So a standard B105 or BU105 holder, they all accept all of these blank sizes. Sometimes there's a little confusion about the smallest blank size in that it looks kind of strange in the holder, but it's just a matter of running the screw down into the tool a little bit further and getting it to lock up. So just be aware that all the blank sizes fit the standard holders. A new addition to the Horn holder family is the Supermini front clamping. So the Supermini front clamping is a little different. Again, you do have all the holders or all the inserts fit the holders, but you have an intermediate wedge that needs to be changed out for each size of blank. So you can see from this slide, there are 3 wedge sizes. You have a 3 wedge, a 4, and a 5. And those correspond to the 5.9 millimeter blank, 6.4, and 7 millimeter blanks. So as the blank size increases, the wedge has to change. So what we also recommend when you order one of these wedge clamp holders, B105 010.S.03, that's going to come with a 3 type wedge. I would go ahead and order the 4 and the 5 in addition to. So the wedge part number 010.105.03 is the 3 wedge, and then so on and so forth. So order those other 2 wedges in addition to the one that comes with the holder. Those are all specified by the B dimension. So you can look at the B dimension for the insert. Will tell you which wedge you need to use with the system. The 030.000.1157 screw, that's universal for all the different wedge sizes. All right, switching topics a little bit to handing. So before we assemble the tool, to try to understand the handing of the Supermini and Mini tools. So you have a right-hand tool and a left-hand tool. A right-hand tool, if you look at the insert from the end and the cutting edge facing up, if it's facing to the right, it's a right hand. If it's facing left, it's a left hand. Also, if you're looking at it from a side view here, this is with the cutting edge facing up. A right hand, the screw side is going to be on the top here, and a left hand, the screw side is going to be on the bottom. So that's just a good indication of whether you have a right or a left hand tool. If you're using the Supermini system, and there's a lot of different configurations of machines. So in this instance, you're running it upside down. Many end users like to run these tools upside down to push the chip down to the bottom of the machine. Although if you're inside a bore, really that doesn't matter. But just as a matter of which spindle rotation you're using, if you're running a right hand tool on the left turret, so on the upper left turret, This is how it would be oriented. Um, if you're running on the sub spindle, you need a left-hand tool. If you're running that upside down, if you're running on the secondary spindle, you need a left hand. And then if you're running on the back side of the sub turret, then you would need a right hand. So just a visual indication of which hand tool you would use. On the mini side of things, you have basically a neutral holder for the 108 series, 111, 114, and 116 series of tools. And that is because they have a symmetric lug on the back. So the drive lug here is symmetric. So the holder is neutral and the insert is handed. So just like before, looking at the end of the tool, you would have a right hand would face right and a left hand would face left. If you have an asymmetric tool, you will have a right-handed insert and also a right-handed holder. So you use right-handed inserts with right-handed holders, left-handed inserts with left-handed holders. The coolant hole can sometimes determine if it's a left or a right holder. The asymmetric side of things, the reason these are handed is the lug on the back is asymmetric. So it's not even, so it has to go one way. The beauty of the system here is that you really can't misload. You can't put a symmetric insert in an asymmetric holder. It won't fit. It'll be obvious that it doesn't work together. And likewise, you can't put an asymmetric insert in a symmetric holder. So the asymmetric series of tools are the 106, 107, 10P, 11P, and 18P. So just keep that in mind. On the Supermini side, the main sort of clamping device of the Supermini with respect to the insert is the clamping screw. So to get started with using a Supermini holder, the first thing is to inspect the screw for signs of wear. These are not, these will wear over time. Make sure you're checking the screw periodically to make sure you're getting the best performance out of the insert. You want to clean all the mating surfaces and then align the machine tool turret to the spindle. So you're dealing in small boring, so you want to, and grooving, and you want to make sure everything's aligned properly. So when to replace the screw? So how do you know the screw needs to be replaced? Well, the first sign is if you're getting irregular tool life or performance issues, it's a good idea to change these screws out. 90% of the time that solves the issue and you go back to a very stable and normal tool life. If the ball here is extremely loose, so if you can actually easily flip this ball around and have the flat part inside of the screw, then you want to replace it. If you see any micro cracks, so look for cracks and frittering along the edge of the screw portion or the Torx also. So look for any cracks on that. So easy to assemble these tools in a standard Supermini system. Just to point out, the 105, you have a single screw and not two screws. So this is a 110 series that we're seeing here. You also have a longer back end. So the longer clamping area is, I think, 22 millimeter. The standard is about 12. So if you have a single screw, you normally wouldn't put one of these long 22 back ends in it. You would use the standard 12. So just be aware of that. But if you have a 105 insert, it fits a 105 holder. If you have a 110 insert, fits a 110 holder, and so forth. Just be aware of that. So the main components of this are your lathe block, however it's fixed in the machine. You might have a bushing here to adapt any kind of diameter difference. There are inch and metric diameters available within the Supermini system. Then you have your body, your insert, and your screws. So a great idea is to grab to get an inspection insert and have one of those available in the shop somewhere to qualify the holder. So you would load the inspection insert in after cleaning all the surfaces, tighten the front screw and the back screw, but not fully, just run them into the insert, and then make sure the inspection is installed all the way into the holder. Then you're going to tighten the front screw. Use torque limiting driver for that. It's the best way to get consistent results with the Supermini. Then you'll tighten the rear screw and then inspect your body for any kind of damage and make sure everything's clean. Insert the holder into the bushing, insert the bushing into the lathe block. And then on your front screw, or however you're fixing this into the machine, you rotate clockwise and counterclockwise while tightening the screw, and that's going to put the holder on plane. And then you'll prepare a 1/10 indicator. So using that 1/10 indicator and your inspection insert, you'll run back and forth and get that within 2/10 is best. And then also make sure at some point that your holder is on plane as well, or it's aligned with the rotation axis of the part. So once you have that indicated, you can then just take out that inspection insert and put whatever insert you're using for that application, and then touch that insert off per the standard process. With the Supermini tools, you will notice that they're held fairly tightly, so retouching this off after indexing, some customers can get away with not doing that. We recommend that you would always, use a touch-off process, but they're fairly repeatable since the back end here is ground, and if the V is correct, so it's going to repeat when indexing inserts. All right, so that's Supermini. Now we'll talk about Mini. So Mini system is a little different. You have your set screw, you have your insert, and then your body. The most important thing to remember is that you have this gap. So there should be a gap between the insert and the body, and the insert should actually be riding inside these lugs. That's where it should locate and where it should rest in this plane between these two. There should be a 4/1000 gap. Also check the screws, the clamping screws periodically. Just like with any other tooling system, these can wear out. Inspect the threads and make sure the Torx Plus is not rounded out. Same, just use this lathe block as an example, but you can have a lathe, the block holder, and a bushing possibly. You have the insert, the screw, and then the body. So clean all the surfaces. You want to place the insert into the locating lugs where appropriate, and then install the screw, but don't fully tighten. So don't fully tighten it. You then want to, as you're in the slot, you want to make sure that you use torque limiting. So have it mostly tight, sort of snugged up, and then fully snug this with torque limiting driver. And that's going to prevent sort of putting putting any influence on the insert when you're trying to tighten it. Also, clean the shank, make sure there's no damage on the flat. Clean all the mating surfaces, push the insert into the bushing and then the bushing into the block. And then just as before, while rotating clockwise and counterclockwise, so back and forth, you slowly tighten up your locating screw here on the block, and then tighten your back screw. Check your center height. However, that process may happen in your machine with an indicator. I will say the inserts have a positive rake, so just be careful. Just get your high point and make sure that you're on center. We can create an inspection inserts for the mini system. We don't offer those as a standard. We found a lot of end users just create their own from an old insert and make sure everything's aligned. And then touch off the tool as needed. All right, that ends this section of training, of the 4-part training on Supermini application. Don't forget to subscribe to Horn YouTube page to get all the latest updates on trainings and other product videos.